Hello!
Hello!
Estamos ao vivo! Tem gente por aí? Tudo bem? Tudo bom? Como estão todos?
Estamos num dia de obra no nosso prédio. Justo hoje, eles resolveram fazer uma obra no nosso prédio.
A gente tem várias obras acontecendo ao mesmo tempo, então enquanto a gente está aqui conversando com o Dom, para todo mundo que está aí assistindo, vai dando um alô, assim também o Don vai conhecendo cada um de vocês que está aí. E eu vou voltar para o inglês, né? A gente avisou que a live tinha que ser em inglês por conta do Don. Don, thank you so much for being here. We are so pleased to have you here. It's an honor for us. Can you see the chat or no? You cannot see the chat.
I can see a private chat,
Okay,
but I can't see the actual chat.
Not the actual chat. Okay, so people are saying hello, just so for you to know. I'll
hello.
Put it on here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can see some things. So, hello. It's nice to hear you. It's lovely to hear Brazilian Portuguese. I have so many friends in Brazil, and it brings me back to my travels out there and having so much fun in Brazil. A country which I love is very dear to my heart. Yeah.
Where have you been here in Brazil?
I've been to Sao Paulo. I've been to Rio de Janeiro. I've been to Manaus. We went to the Amazon.
Nice.
I've been to Bahia. I spent some time in Bahia, near Salvador, and then going into Lençóis. I've been to Fortaleza. Lots of places. So I've been all over. I've spent a lot of time in Brazil because some of my best friends are there. So that's a good excuse to go over there regularly.
Nice. So we can have the live in Portuguese, right?
Yeah. All I know is fala sério and tudo bem, tudo bom, and I only know. Fala sério. Yeah, exactly.
Fala sério. And valeu is very carioca.
Valeu,
so
yeah.
We are from Rio. We are talking from Rio.
Yeah, you're carioca.
But a lot of people here are in São Paulo as well. There is someone saying the perfect sentence for you guys. For you. Look. Olá, T-Heads!
Olá, T-Heads! Hola.
Yeah.
Bom dia.
Hello, Brazilian T-Heads!
We love
Lovely
that
to
sentence.
see you all out there.
So first, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you so much. I will mute ourselves while you're answering because the noise is very loud here. Some people saying hello. A big
hello,
fan
Oscar.
here
hello.
as well. So we have a lot of fans here in Brazil. And that's why we are so pleased to have you here as well. I will tell you really fast how we learned about you. We were starting our school here in Rio, and it's an online school. We have sommeliers that graduate with us and also tea blenders. And we started talking a lot about L-theanine. And then one student of ours said, there's a guy on the internet talking about L-theanine just like you guys are. And we said, really? Who is he? And she said, oh, here's the channel. And then we saw you on a very nice video on a motorbike. I don't know where you were.
We're an island in Thailand.
Okay, so it was Thailand.
I know it sounds like I travel a lot, but actually I spend most of my time in London. But every time I travel, I make sure I film it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there you were very adventurous and on your motorbike and talking about L-theanine. And we said, that's so nice. Someone thinks exactly like we do about tea. And so from then on, we started watching, of course, your videos. And
we learn a lot. We use some of your videos to our students, especially about tea processing and your trips in China. So we are big fans.
So that was just to say that we, of course, and a lot of our students that are here and other people from Brazil just are big fans, and everybody loves you here. So when you come back again, make sure to...
I know. It's honestly, it's in my, obviously the COVID restrictions stopped travel, but now that we can travel again, Brazil is high up on my list because it's been quite a few years since I've been there. So yeah, I will be there, and we'll try to arrange a meetup.
Great. Well, so let's start. I wanted to talk to you about, we had some ideas, and that we wanted to discuss with you. So the first question, would you like to start, Carol?
Yes. Well, most of our students are entrepreneurs. because we are in a very immature market here in Brazil. So we have, they are starting their business here in a, as I said, a very mature market. So a question that always pops up is, one thing is to like tea, is to drink tea. Another completely different thing is decide to have a tea business. Yeah. So why did you decide to have a tea business?
Back in the beginning.
Back in the day, yeah. I mean, it's actually gone past very quickly. I started really studying tea and sourcing tea around 20 odd years ago, so around the beginning of around 2000, and then I opened the business properly in terms of a bricks and mortar place, because I was selling before, but actually having a location in 2007. So it's been quite a while, and it's but it has shot by. First of all, let me say that one of the advantages of an immature market is that you can move quicker, and I actually think that there's a blessing in an immature market, because it means that you can develop and create your brand relatively without too much competition, and you can and the good ideas will rise to the top more quickly. So for all the Brazilian entrepreneurs out there, don't be downhearted about that. Take advantage of it. In answer to your question, I sort of fell into this because of my background in Chinese medicine, because my father was a professor in Chinese medicine. My mother and my father started a business in the 1970s based on East-West integration, creating a bridge between China and the West. It started off as a bookshop, bringing in books and ideas and arts, and then moved into medicine as people started to become very fascinated by acupuncture and Chinese medicine. My father then became a professor in Chinese medicine. And so my whole upbringing has been around Chinese herbs and Chinese medicine. And when I finished my university, I came back to London because I studied in the States, and I was working in the music industry, but I was helping out the business as a good, responsible son. And I realized that one of the key things that was missing, that I thought there was a possible opportunity at, was the fact that tea is ubiquitous. Tea is everywhere. Everyone knows tea. And yet it seemed to me that nobody was drinking really good tea. And so I thought I would study it a little bit and see if there was an opportunity to help the family business. I did not know, of course, that I would fall in love with it to the extent that I have. And so I think that, in answer to your question, the reason why a tea business initially was simply a practical solution to a gap in the market that I saw. But it soon became obvious that I needed to give up the music and give up everything else and focus on this as my main sort of passion in life, at least right now in this phase of my life. And that just comes from the love of all the things that tea has to offer, from the taste, the aroma, the texture, the experience, to the philosophical side of it, to the health aspects, the functional aspects, the fascination in history, the fascination in botany. I mean, the endless, rich tapestry of enjoyment, both sort of physical and mental, that it gives you, that has sort of made me realize that this is the job for me.
So you actually are saying that in a way we have to love it so much, by the point that you will actually commit your life in a way, right? Because you have changed. You went from the from the music industry, and it started kind of humble, but then it became your passion. Do you think passion is like really what you need to be an entrepreneur, or
in tea business?
In tea business, yeah, or more than
I mean,
that?
I would say that it certainly is very helpful, because of the fact that you are going to be having a lot of stress in many different areas that you didn't expect that you would have stress in. And you will have to learn things that you don't necessarily enjoy learning, about logistics and understanding how the business works. And so if you're not having that overall sensation that what you are doing is something that you're passionate about, I think it will be very difficult I certainly think that I would find it difficult. I don't want to say you need to be super passionate about everything you do, because, you know, I'm not everybody. All I can say is that anybody who's run a business, anybody who's trying to start a business will know that the actual product at the end of it, you know, what people see is the very, very small tip of the iceberg, and the amount of work and the amount of effort and the amount of failures that you need to go through in order to, you know, produce something that you're proud of is extreme. And then, so if you're not a very passionate person about what you're doing, I think that it's going to be very easy for you to sort of give in. And certainly the passion also informs and gives birth to many ideas. So if you're not, if you're sort of clocking out at the end of the day and you're not thinking about tea or whatever you're doing, then it's unlikely that you'll get those creative ideas sort of at 2 o'clock in the morning that might, you know, lead your business in a different direction. So I would say passion is almost a necessity, but, you know, obviously there are different people out there. They might have a different way of working.
And I'm gonna skip to a question that wasn't, you know, I didn't send you in advance because it just came up to me, and I think it's you talked about selling tea and all the difficulties that we face. We are a tea school, so of course we face the same things, and sometimes we have to go back to the essentials. You know, we have students, we want to grow the market with people that know more about tea, that know in the right way about the true tea, like you call it, and we also use that word as well here. Uh, but there is a difference between what you have there and what we have here in terms of market and people understanding tea. However, you also work in education a lot because you have a lot of videos that, you know, teach so much about so many things in tea. Do you think that was also necessary for you to sell, or that was important? I mean, selling in the end needed people to understand more, and that's where your educational part came up.
Absolutely. One of the things that people don't, I think, appreciate about the UK market is that they think the UK market is a very mature market because everyone drinks tea and tea is British, etc., etc., etc. However, that comes with many disadvantages, because then you have an environment or a society which is essentially thinks that they know about a tea, or they think they know about a subject, but you're trying to sort of open their eyes to all these other aspects rather than just sort of black milk, sugar, right? And so education was a big part of what we were trying to do. And so I was doing workshops for many years, face-to-face workshops for many. This was before online, you know, courses. So I was doing every weekend. I would spend 3 hours teaching classes after classes after classes, to the point where I could practically be asleep and just give the lesson, because I could hear myself just sort of, I would literally have conversations with myself and go, oh yeah, you're doing quite well, Don. You know, I could hear myself talking. And it was at that point that I realized, like, I can't continue to do this, because I'm just going to like get so bored of hearing my own voice that I need to record it and put it out there. And then I've done it once, and then hopefully I don't have to repeat it too many times. And, but absolutely, you're not going to achieve any traction in a market that's immature unless you develop education and passion in that subject. And we realized from fairly early on that we needed to help to create the market rather than just serve an existing market.
That's very, very important that you're saying. It's that sentence. I think it's extremely what it is, right? Because we always think about the challenges. Since we are here in a country that's starting to know what tea is, we don't have, of course, the mentality about, you know, like you said, black tea, milk, and sugar, but we have a lot of tisanes. So there's a lot of confusion on that. And so, for example, we have tisanes that are sold in for like very, very cheap price. That's not even good for the tisane market. You know, it's kind of very
or we have mate.
Yeah, we have
sold
mate
as green tea.
Elix, yeah.
So
yes, that
things
happens.
like that. And actually, we didn't start as a school.
Yeah,
we started with an iced tea company because we
Okay.
wanted Brazilians to have the real tea. So we said, oh, okay, he is hot. Let's have an iced tea company. And then we felt the need to teach. And we realized that we have more time teaching than selling iced tea.
Yeah, we for every bottle we sold, you know, it was an artisanal iced tea company. For every bottle we sold, it was like half an hour talking to the person, you know, giving classes and teaching, and people were so interested and really in what is Camellia sinensis, and we were talking and L-theanine, and people will really. And so we also felt the same need. Okay, we need to record this, or else we're gonna keep
and then
talking forever.
We gave one step back and said, okay, let's teach. Let's teach consumers. Then we started to grow a consumer group, but with no tea. So we said, no, we need to prepare the tea entrepreneurs. So that's the way we started our school.
Yeah, and even though we have Brazilian plantations here, have you been to them? Have you
No,
ever
I
been?
haven't. No, I haven't. No.
Okay.
So next time you come, you have to be.
Because we are in a new era of Brazilian tea.
Yeah.
A completely new era.
So we have some nice tea plantations. So that's helping out a lot, and some new business starting, and the market starting to move. But so our challenges are completely different. In your side, you know, what people perceive in England, but you sell everywhere, right? You're not only selling in England, even though you have your store, you sell in Europe.
We sell worldwide. We sell
worldwide, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Worldwide.
Yeah, so everybody knows. What are the biggest challenges, you know, besides explaining it's not only black tea and milk and sugar? When you have really great quality tea that you're bringing, I mean, that you're taking to London, and then, you know, moving forward, what is the day-to-day relationship when you are face-to-face to your client? How is that? Or does everybody that buy from you really knows tea and is buying, or do you still have some people that you have to teach besides your video, but when you're face-to-face?
So we are very lucky now that we have a lot of clientele that watch us and they know a lot about tea. And that's a joy and a blessing, because people come into our store or people write to us and they're already asking questions that are sort of demonstrative of somebody who knows about tea, and you know, it's just an easy conversation to have. But you know, as I said, we struggled for 7-8 years as a business before I launched properly the YouTube channel. And we were going through exactly the same thing, where people come in and you've got to go through an entire sort of conversion process, if it were, to try to throw at them in the short time that you have enough little hooks that might get them like interested to learn more, because obviously people don't have that much time on their hands, and they come into a shop and then they're sort of not expecting to sort of fall down the tea rabbit hole. So you're trying to find out what's interesting to them and sort of, you know, pique their interest in that. And that still happens all the time. So if you go to our tea house, that is still happening. I mean, I don't want people to think that the UK or us in particular are only getting clients that are really well versed in true tea. No, that's not the case at all. I would say that still possibly even half the clients that come into our shop are complete tea novices. They're just walking in, they don't know anything about it. And so you have sort of different groups of people. You know, you have people that, like you say, just throw anything that's a plant that's put in hot water together as tea. So you've got peppermint, and, you know, they say, oh, I love tea. And you say, what do they drink? What do you drink? And they say, oh, I drink peppermint and chamomile. And you've got to sort of try to walk them through the differences. There are people that see tea from a medicinal point of view, that they're just coming, I just want green tea because I heard X, Y, Z, or, you know, I want to lose weight, or I want to, you know, have better skin, which tea, you know. So you've got to sort of have a certain way of dealing with those kinds of people from those kinds of approaches. Then you've got the other side where people are used to sort of bubble tea or sweet teas and sugary teas, and all that they are concerned about is sort of an indulgence. And one of the beauties, but also one of the challenges with tea is that it fits so perfectly in the middle of everything. You know, it is the focus of function, it is the focus of health, it is the focus of medicine, but it's also the focus of enjoyment, indulgence. It's the focus of ceremony and, you know, mindfulness. So it's sort of wonderful but challenging at the same time, because you've got all these different entry points to tea, and the challenge of any entrepreneur is to try to figure out how to handle such a variety of different approaches into tea. But the conversion process, for want of a better word, the process of trying to generate that sort of fire and passion in people is an ongoing process for us, as it would be for any of your students and yourself. I think that you learn over time, you know, what works and what doesn't work, and you certainly learn to become a little bit more efficient about how you know, communicate that to people. But it is a process, and it's just as difficult here as it probably was. You know, well, it's probably a little bit better than it was about 5 years ago, but it's still pretty difficult. You know, people have a very set way of dealing with their approach to tea. So yeah, I know in Brazil it is considered much more about the medicinal side of it and the tisane side of it, and there is a huge problem in the undervaluing of all of these products, and that is simply because of the fact that there's not really a decent enough supply, or there isn't a willingness to spend the extra money for the really good stuff. And I understand that, because there's obviously a reticence or a fear that you're not going to have the market to buy it. So, you know, that all goes back to education.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said all of that, because we kind of feel relieved, right? So for every student that is here, we have a student has one of the biggest e-commerces here in Brazil for tea, and he sells all the Brazilian teas. He has his own brand as well, Vinicius here, and he goes through that same thing every time we go through that as a school, when people want to learn and say, okay, we have a sommelier course, and people think they're going to learn about tisanes and everything, and we're trying to. So do you guys at your store? Just a quick question.
Just let me make a comment on it. And they said, okay, but you're gonna have a course only for Camellia sinensis. Just this plant. Okay,
yeah, that's the worst question. That's the worst.
Okay, it's a 1-day class. No. About Camellia sinensis. It's just one plant.
Yeah, do you teach about, that's the worst thing. When we get that reply, that objection, we go, oh no, really? Just about this plant? Yes, just about this plant.
See it as an opportunity to open their eyes to the lifetime of learning. Yeah.
That's what we try to do. But you have a question, Carol?
Yes. Well, how do you perceive the market growth in Europe now? Because as I said, although we face the same kind of problems about communication about tea, you are in a market that, you know, consumes much more tea than us. Do you perceive any growth in this market during the pandemic and now in 2022,
after COVID, etc.?
Well, there was, just like all industries, the COVID lockdowns meant that online sales went up, and so, you know, we were very lucky that we had built a healthy online shop prior to it, because I know that if you were focusing on bricks and mortar, you were focusing on physical locations, then obviously that was a big problem. The EU market is an interesting one, and it's interesting because it's a real patchwork. We talk about the EU, but I mean it's huge, and there's so many different countries and so many different cultures. So it's sort of difficult to talk about the EU as a whole. There is certainly a trend, which is not just EU, but I think worldwide, which is a trend towards the renaissance of true tea culture. That is being spurred on by entrepreneurs like your students, and the work that we do, and the work that's going on in China, Taiwan, etc. So I think there is generally a momentum and a movement worldwide. I wouldn't say that it's only in the UK or only in the EU, although we may be slightly ahead of the curve in terms of people getting into that culture. But you have to think about, there's a big, huge difference between the Italian approach to tea versus the Swedish approach to tea. And so really, I have moved more and more away from demographics in my sort of approach to business. It's one of the things that marketeers, if you have any consultant come to you and they want to get your business to try to, help you achieve 10,000% increase or blah, 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 all that stuff, right? The first thing that they try to do is isolate your demographic. And I think that that's a very old-fashioned way of doing business. I don't think that it's very useful. I think that the most important thing is, what do you want to say? What is your message? What is your passion? And then the people who are aligned with that passion will find you. And you'll find that it goes across all walks of life. From, we have people coming into our shop, tea house, that are 9-10 years old, passionate about tea, all the way to, in their 80s. And so, it's such a widespread. You've got, across the board, different professions, different, sexes, different interests. People come in from all these different angles that we talked about, from the health to the mindfulness to the indulgence, etc. And so the market is certainly, I think overall there's a movement towards this, and it's not just in tea, because it's about provenance, understanding that you want not mass consumption but considered consumption of things, that you want to maybe consume less but better quality, that you want to be a little bit more conscious of what you're putting in your body and how things are farmed and all of those things. I think there's generally a global movement towards functional foods as we sort of move away from the sort of post-war obsession with sort of a chemical approach to life, that chemistry is going to solve everything and technology is going to solve everything. We sort of are starting to understand that we need to rebalance in that way and think of things in a more integrative way. So, and just in terms of a more global world, we're interested in other cultures as well, and we're interested in what's happening in other cultures. So I think all of that contributes to this movement into true tea. And I think that that's going to spread everywhere. I think that the UK, EU, the US are certainly, probably a good 3, 4, maybe 5 years ahead of countries such as Brazil. But I think that all that means is that you're going to catch up quicker. It's like an elastic band, it means that a lot of the work is being done already. So hopefully, places like Brazil will move relatively quickly compared with what's been happening in the UK, EU. But it's all looking positive. It's all looking good. The only thing is, the economy of the world is currently going through a lot of struggles. And so, that's, the big concern with everybody.
But it's nice that you said that we would move, faster. In your point of view, you think Brazil will be a little bit, faster there than what you guys have been, or US, right, Canada, etc.
Well, you have the resources. You have the resources there in the country, but also you've got all of the work that other vendors like us and other people have done. So it's when I started in 2000, I mean, you typed in, green tea in the internet, and you would not get the wealth of information that you get now. So, I think that there's a lot more foundational knowledge that you can draw on.
Yeah, and we've also perceived that kids are also really open to tea. Here in Brazil, we have this difficulty that there's a myth, that because of caffeine and all the wrong understanding about caffeine regarding tea, and people say no, they can't drink tea. So it's an area that we're still. I think with a few years it will get better, but the kids that we have met or that we have been face to face that have drank tea, they just simply love it. They are just like, wow, what is this? Things that the adults will, be a little bit more resistant. And I think what you said about how we find each one on our own business, right? We as a school, our students that are here, entrepreneurs, many entrepreneurs, that they have to find their way to, kind of get all those advantages, right? That we have in tea, that diversity, that big diversity that it has to offer, and try to bring people to us, right? So, but the way to do that will be very specific to how you're selling or what your business is, like you said, or what your passion is in tea. How you want to sell tea, or how do you want to, sell an online class. We have, for example, Tatiana here that said, she says that she learns a lot from your videos. She's our student. Today she sells online workshops
with a group,
with two other students, and they actually do like kung fu sessions online. So this is huge, for Brazil, that like 2 years ago or 3 years ago we wouldn't have that. There would be nobody doing that. So little by little, I think people are trying to find their own way that they want to express their work in tea here in Brazil. And then the diversity of Brazil, I think, helps as well.
And a curiosity, Brazilians love gongfu cha.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. By the way, what tea are you drinking? I think people want to know that as well.
Well, I'm actually we're trying to find an aged white tea. We have a series called Jade Star. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to find the next Jade Star. So I'm always working. So even when I'm drinking with you, I'm always doing sampling. So this is a contender. This is a real contender for. Oops.
Nice. No, it's okay.
No so yeah, it's a real contender for potentially a Jade Star cake. So that's what's happening here. Yeah, I mean, from my impression of Brazil, from all of the all my travels in Brazil, speaking to Brazilian friends, but also doing business in Brazil. I mean, we do have a fair few Brazilian clients. One of the things that I've noticed in general is that there tends to be quite an openness towards plant-based functional medicine, right? Yeah. There seems to be, in general, more of an openness than in many other countries. And I think that is a real advantage that any tea seller would have over there. Yeah. But obviously the risk is that you just fall into the trap of only trying to sell a tea on the basis of health, because that's the easiest way to sell it. Exactly. And sometimes the best way to really carve your niche in a market is to do something that is maybe a little bit more difficult at the beginning, but is going to set your brand apart from, others potentially. So yeah, I mean, it's all about finding the personal sort of path.
Yeah, and if we are not very passionate about tea, people might fall into, okay, I only have to sell tisanes because that's what people want to, because they are not so passionate about it that they don't know actually how to position themselves to see tisanes as an opportunity to sell true tea. So I think that it's a thin line in there, but some people will tend to, okay, Brazilians just want tea. For example, I'll just give a true example that happens to us. When we have to give like an online consultancy or a lecture in a company, we have done that sometime. And people will say, oh, we want to know about teas and what they're for. the benefits and this herb and this herb, and we say the first thing that I say to reply back is, okay, I can give you a lecture on that, a workshop or something like that, but I only talk about well-being, pleasure, etc. I don't talk about diseases. And then everybody will go automatically like that. No, no, no. I don't want to learn about diseases. I want to learn about well-being. Okay, I can tell you about this millennial plant that has more than 5,000 years, and then they will say, okay, I want that. So it's a way to turn back the story, turn back the client, and so that they will look at us and say, okay, that's what I want. I want to hear what you have to say, because automatically people will say, here in Brazil, there's a traditional sentence, not traditional, but it's a day-to-day sentence. This tea is for what? So our school is called Tea for What? And of course, it's not tea for for your stomach ache, or tea to get thin, and but it's tea for much more than what we know. But people would automatically say, we want to know the teas for the skin or the tea for that, and then we can do that. So I think everybody on their own business has to do that, like you just mentioned, and that happens in Brazil all the time.
Yeah, I mean, people like to have a very linear and simple way of sort of remembering things, like this is for that and that's for this, and it's not just necessarily regarding health. It could be anything. It could be like, okay, which tea has the most caffeine, which tea, they like to have very black and white answers to questions that don't have black and white answers. And I think one of the key things with tea is to not make people feel overwhelmed by the fact that they don't get straight answers, but to try to encourage them to celebrate that. And that's, I think, a huge sort of mind shift in people. It's like the way that you are thinking is not really tea. So we need to sort of work on what you find exciting. Like if it gives you a sense of satisfaction to know, okay, this is the highest caffeine, that is the lowest, because it's neat in your head, then we've got to change that, because what's exciting is the fact that you will be continuously learning, that there's going to be a personal approach to all of this, that there is no sort of one size fits all for health or for taste or for any of these things. And I think that a lot of people at the beginning find that a little bit overwhelming, or a little bit, it's scary. And so I think that part of the role of anybody who's trying to promote true tea is to promote this sort of mindset of the act of discovery and the act of learning, and the fact that it never stops, and the fact that you're not going to get neat answers is actually something to celebrate and enjoy. And that switch is a big factor in helping people move into tea.
I agree, and that's interesting, because we are always learning in tea. It's true. Forever. The other thing also that I think it's a thin line is you're always learning about tea, but that because I see that sometimes our students are like that. They think, I don't know everything, so I'm not gonna go into business yet. They kind of stand back a little bit, and I say, you're gonna only learn how to have a tea business if you start. If you plan so much, and if you overthink everything, you're not going to be ready ever, right? I imagine that when you started, when we started, we're still learning, and we're always saying, well, everything that we learn new, we go and send it back to our students. I imagine that when you started, you probably, if you compare yourself to when you started, your mind has, you have evolved so much. Is that true? Or how do you feel it?
Yeah, I mean, the act of running a business is very synonymous with the act of living. You grow.
Perfect.
You grow, you learn, you make mistakes. You find out that they're mistakes after the fact. You realize how you could have planned better. You realized when you should have held back, and when you should have said, no, I've done enough holding back, I need to move forwards. This is just living. This is just, and I think that running a business should be a natural extension of that mentality. For sure, we've had more failures than successes in business. I don't think that that's anything to be ashamed of. I think that that's something that you should celebrate, and
in life, right?
that's the way. I think one of the big things that I always tell people is, and it sounds a bit strange, but be passionate but care less. In other words, like, you've got to follow your passion, but like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it doesn't, that's not a statement on the value of you. That's not a statement on, your self-worth. It is simply, it didn't work, try something else, and I think that gives people a certain freedom to go, well, it's okay. I'm going to make mistakes. I mean, we all make mistakes, and we all have failures. And certainly, I even look back at videos that I did, 3 years ago, and I'm like, oof, but that's, and I'm sure I'll be doing the same in a few years' time. So, I mean, that's, and it would be very strange if it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
In fact, it would be probably more of a statement of my failings if I felt like I was just consistent and I never made any changes or felt that there were improvements to make. So just like the learning of tea, everything in life is a process of learning and understanding and adapting and changing and shifting. And that is something to absolutely celebrate.
Do you think that that way that you're talking, that makes you feel, or it looks like you feel like you're so secure about, if I fail, it's okay, etc. This is you, Don. This is you plus T. This is you as a business guy, or this is you as a British guy as well, with a Chinese background. And I'm saying that because here in Brazil, we tend to think that if we fail, that's really bad. That's in the country. Yeah.
This is it. You fail. This is it. No chance.
Yeah, that's in our country. That it's kind of in the culture of Brazil a little bit. So, do you think this is you? This is part of your culture talking, or what do you think?
I mean, obviously, it's very difficult for me to untangle, where these things come from. I would say that there is a tendency, not just in Brazil, but everywhere in the world, for self-comparison. And way too much attention is being spent on the concept of self-value.
True.
And I say that from a perspective of, look, I understand that, brands like to push the idea that, of aspiration, you can achieve this. But I think that comes with a lot of dangers and a lot of pitfalls, and it causes a lot of upset in people. And it causes inertia. That's the problem. It causes people to freeze. They don't know what to do. Well, should I do that? Is that my passion in life? This is why I think I was a little bit reticent to say you need to be passionate about this, because I don't want people to feel like, how many people have decided, oh, I know exactly what my passion is. That's it. I'm doing it. I mean, very, very few, right? And so if you don't feel that, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do things, right? It doesn't mean that you shouldn't take action, because it's the taking of action which leads you to discovery, and that discovery leads you to find other things that you might be passionate about. And so, I just think there's too much attention worldwide on this concept of comparison and value. And if there's one thing that tea should teach people, it is that, there's a beautiful, timeless moment that you can drink tea, which should be free of judgment of yourself. At least you can judge the tea, but free of judgment for yourself.
Not
and I
even
think
the
that is you can. I mean, obviously, even if you're completely zen, then you don't even judge the tea. You just let it let the tea's essence filter through you. But I think there needs to be an active rejection of this idea that that your self-worth is somehow related to how many followers you have, what your bank balance is, what your lifestyle is. It's just it's too much.
True.
And what I see in terms of entrepreneurs, and I think that this is probably something that I learned quite a lot from my father, and I'm not sure if it's a Chinese thing or not. I don't think it particularly is that you've got to just let things go. You've got to be free in terms of free yourself of self-judgment. That's not to say that you don't critically analyze what you've done, where you've made mistakes, how you can improve, but you don't emotionalize it. It's not, and that's not an easy thing to do. I say that
No,
as
it
if it
isn't.
is, because it's not.
No,
And
no.
I'm not trying to suggest it is. It's a process.
Yeah.
If we make mistakes or if there's a problem, I take it quite personally, but I have to try to reject that, because I realize that ultimately, we've got a short window on this earth, and
Yes.
we
Yes.
should not be too hard on ourselves, and
True.
just, I always tell people, you essentially have two choices in life: your intention and your expression, and as long as you're comfortable with those two things, then it doesn't matter what mistakes you make,
Yeah.
and I think that is, and I see this in people who are successful in business. I see this continuous. If there's one thread I see, and people talk about it as confidence, I don't see it as confidence is not being frightened of making mistakes. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that you've got some extra superpower. It just means that you realize that ultimately this is all a game, and enjoy playing it, and that's all it comes down to. And I think that's something that I've learned over time. Is something that's probably been inspired by my father, and certainly tea has contributed to a little bit more of the sort of philosophical aspects of it as well.
Yeah, and we're talking about tea, and we end up as usual. I think that's one of the best things about tea, because even if we are talking about businesses and tea, we end up in a way kind of discussing about life and other things, because tea always takes us to a much wider thing, right? So we end up doing some philosophy, which is good.
And he was I'm listening to Don, and I was thinking one of our most famous video is one that everything went wrong.
Yes, it's true.
Everything.
We spilled the tea.
We spilled the tea. We forgot the things, and in the end, we have a blackout.
Yeah,
but we were filming
blackout. Yeah,
in the cell phone.
Yeah,
so it stayed.
Yeah, it kept filming, right?
We finished the video with a cell phone light, just to finish it, and people like to see our humanity.
Yes.
People like to see when we made a mistake or something goes wrong, and then we can deal with it.
And that's for everybody, right? So
I think people are allergic to sort of a glossy things that are too glossy, because we're constantly surrounded by it, and it sort of makes you think of things slightly as fake or staged. True. So it's always amazing where the charm comes from that engages people. It's an area that is constant guesswork. I mean, we release a video every single week, and I still to this day don't know which ones are going to be ones that are really successful and ones that are less interested. People are less interested in. It's sort of I like to think that I figured it out, but I haven't. And I think that in a way that has its own charm. You just do what you feel is right with your intention and your expression, and let the people find you.
Yeah, true. And one thing that you do so perfect that I love it is the way you describe tea.
It's excellent. Yes.
You describe tea in a way that we almost feel it.
Yeah, we want to eat it, right? We want to drink it, because your tea description is perfect. How you describe aromas.
And that's passionate.
Yeah, that's passionate. That's passionate. So it's really.
Well, I'm a lover of food. So I've sort of transferred my love of food. Not transferred, but I've used my love of food to inform the way that I talk about tea.
And that's what people understand.
Yeah, I think everybody that will work with tea is in love with food somehow, right? They love to eat. They're passionate about eating and drinking. trying to learn about food all the time, and trying to discover new things, new dishes, and exploring. I think everybody that will work with tea eventually has that in some way. Let me open a little bit to see if anybody has questions.
There are some comments.
Yeah, let me see here.
The beginning.
Natalia said she watched many videos from Don showing the tea process. Nice. So here's Tachi, one of our students as well. She learns also a lot from you. Ana is saying hi. Benicio, he has the e-commerce here in Brazil. Thanks, Don, for taking the time to bring us knowledge. Congratulations, Carl and Carol, for bringing such a cool interview. There's a guy called Hungry Man. He says you are his spirit animal.
There you go. It's a privilege. It's a privilege, Hungry Ham.
There's a movie that talks about that. I love that movie. It's the Golden Bustle, but I what is the name?
I don't know.
In Portuguese, yeah, I don't know the name.
Yeah, I think I know which one you mean. Yeah,
you,
I do.
You know that one? It's so wonderful. So you're like that for him. Mari, Alec, everybody loves Gong Fu. I don't know what happens to Brazilians, but they just fall in love with tea pets as well.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's really difficult to find Gong Fu sets here in Brazil.
Not so easy.
Easy. I'm sure that everybody is looking at your tray.
Yeah, and I saw that tray when you launched it. It's wonderful. It was all very well elaborated. It's very nice, the tray. It's a perfect tea tray. It's true. Let's see here. That's pretty much what's happening in the Brazilian mass market. Teas being sold for functionality's sake, which have like 1% tea and 99% other stuff. It's true.
And then you've got the other side of the equation, which I'm not sure if it's happening in Brazil, but it has certainly happened all around the West, where you get this idea of like premium tea, which is essentially 1% pretty bad tea, and then a load of other smells and flowers and everything else, just to sort of make it something that they can stick under people's noses and smell. So yeah, I mean, you've got those two sides of it. Yeah,
that happens as well. Vladimir is saying, ask him if he has always ever tried
already.
Yeah, Brazilian tea. You haven't, right?
The new era.
I think about a year ago I tried some like very nondescript Brazilian tea that was sent to me, but I have not explored it properly. And I know that the plantations are now really starting to develop. So I certainly, if I ever come to Brazil, I'll bring the cameras along, and we'll definitely do some filming over there.
Yeah, please. Yeah. We have 4 plantations, and 2 are they have
artisanal.
Artisanal, and they have for example, we have a Brazilian green. They also have black now, but their green tea is in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, you have trees of Camellia sinensis, and you have the plantation in the Atlantic forest.
Yeah, so it's in the middle of the Atlantic forest. It's very interesting,
very artisanal,
organic as well. And we have another Shimada.
The tea master of Shimada,
it's a woman.
Is a woman. And she's getting better every year.
Yeah,
she's a Japanese descendant.
Japanese family.
They have an excellent black tea and a white tea.
It's like silver needle. Yeah,
like a silver needle. That it's sold out.
Yeah,
when it's almost impossible to find it.
Yeah, it sells out. When they sells out really quick. Yeah,
it sells out
really quick.
And green tea.
Also, they have black, green, and white, and they are wonderful. Her mother started. She didn't start the plantation. They used to have tea, but they sold it and they wouldn't process it. So her mother, when she was 87, decided she wanted to produce tea. And so she started producing at the age of 87. Now she is 93. And her daughter is the tea master who produces the tea with the rest of the family.
They tried to cut the tea plantation down to put other stuff.
Yeah.
And she stayed there.
And she said, "No, I'm not going to sell."
Wow.
You know, she cleaned it up with her hands at 87.
Yeah.
And then she restarted the company.
When were those plants planted though? How long ago?
Oh, more than 40 years ago or 50. Yeah.
Yes. They brought the seeds from Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
The Japanese community in the 40s.
In the 40s, I think.
Like this.
If anybody in the live remembers the date, because I'm horrible with dates, but
they brought it. But the tea in Brazil, was exported to tea bags.
Yeah. So it had no identity actually.
But in the beginning of the 80s and 90s, there was a great crisis in the tea market in Brazil. In most of the factories they
closed. Yeah, most of the tea plantations they closed out.
And that's why now we are living a new era.
Yeah,
because we have two great companies.
Yeah, big companies.
Yeah, and we have these two artisanal ones that are great.
Shimada started back in 2018. And they produce around a ton per year.
2014, I think.
14 that they started? Yeah, I think. 14. Yeah. And in 2018, we had a lot of changes. So they've been producing since 2014. Yes, and they produce around a ton a month. A month, no, a year.
I was going to say, hey, a month, that's not bad. A year, okay.
No, a year.
Yeah. No, it's a very small plantation, but it's beautiful. So you have to see it.
I have to see it. I have to taste the teas. Yeah, I'll have to head over there and sip on some and see how they brew and how they produce. So it's mostly Sri Lankan seeded Assam varieties made into Okay, and it's made into green teas.
And we have a specific
green, black, white. The whites that they make, they're silver needles with the tips.
At the same cultivar here.
Yeah.
The same cultivar, because that's the way they learn.
Yeah. And Yamamaru, which is a very tiny one, producing in the middle of the forest, they're producing green tea and black tea as well, right?
Yeah.
But their green tea is more artisanal, big leaves, very nice as well. It's kind of like Japanese green tea, not Japanese green tea. Yeah. But pan-fired.
They do it, but they do it pan-fired.
A little bit different. So
yeah.
Let's see here. Andressa says, Dawn, I love your videos, especially the ones that you do on the tea farms. How did you organize it all? Okay. Yes. And you're saying that you don't travel so much, but when you do travel, you make a lot of videos. How do you do that?
Just fill your suitcase with cameras and gear and pray to the tea gods that you're gonna get something to film. Obviously, we do a lot of background work beforehand. We speak to different producers to find out whether or not they would be happy to be filmed, because clearly not everybody wants to, reveal all their secrets on camera. Yeah. So we sort of have those discussions beforehand, but you never know what you're going to get when you go to those filming videos. I mean, we're thinking on our feet a lot. And I studied film and television at university, so I try to sort of think with an editor's mind. So when I'm out there, I'm thinking, okay, so we've covered this topic, but the story really should go in this direction, or we should cover something. So I'm always sort of thinking about what we need to get in terms of shots, so Celine, I drive Celine crazy because I'm constantly going, no, we need a shot of like this, we need a shot of this, and I need to get the drone up there.
You want to do everything at the same time. Is Celine more like, no, let's go slow?
No. Celine's up for it, but she's because I'm in front of the camera most of the time. I'm asking her to like get shots and do this, and so she's not sort of fully trained in camera work, so it sort of becomes a bit of a challenge. But she's really she's taken to it really well. But yeah, I mean, it is just a matter of trying to organize as much as you can, but then just rolling with it when you get there. And we've had lots of problems doing filming, where we've been banned. We've been refused. Government officials saying, no, you can't film here. And, a lot of, there's a lot of, privacy aspects and sort of, for some reason, we always seem to find ourselves near military bases in China where like there's a, I'm just filming leaves, but it doesn't quite work out. So you get all sorts. Yeah.
I imagine. Let's see here. Natalia, Brazilian tea producers are great. Yes, we're very proud of them.
I have to try.
Yeah. Carlos said, I love Shimada silver needles. He just took a group of students to the plantation. So they're also doing some travel in here, which is nice.
So hold on, which part of Brazil are these plantations?
They're all in the
São Paulo state.
Yeah, but in the what we will call interior. How you say, like on the not the big cities, of course. How do you say interior? I forgot.
In the neighborhoods of São Paulo state.
Yeah, it's so they are almost all of they're kind of close by. Yeah, all in São Paulo. We have a big Japanese company as well that produces some green tea. That's Yamamoto. But they actually started being here because their idea was we need more space to produce the tea that we're going to sell outside of Brazil, not to Brazil. But the consumption, I think, is starting to grow, and they do produce like bancha, sencha, genmaicha. They have an organic sencha. And they produce, what else do they produce? But they're a big company.
Hojicha.
Yeah, Hojicha.
Yeah, well. I know Yamamoto. Yeah.
Okay. So they're also here as well. Yes. And we have Amaya, who is also located near Shimada and Yamamaru. They're a little bit bigger, so they also sell to big companies. And they are the ones that actually stood up before, even during the crisis, they could continue to produce. And they were a company that would get the tea leaves from Shimada back in the old days, for example. So they would be the ones producing tea. Processing. So now they continue working. And Shimada, for example, does all their work. So they don't sell anymore to Amaya like they used to, for example. Let's see here. Don wouldn't need to travel much. Shimada and Yamamaru are in the same city. True. We were saying registro. They are sinensis variety Assamica trees and are recovered from the middle of the last century. Perfect. Yeah, that's what we already said.
Here, Ursula said the date.
Okay. Thank you, Ursula. It was March 1935. The seed hidden in a loaf.
Yes.
In a loaf of bread. Yeah.
Wow. Why was it hidden?
It was not allowed to get into Brazil.
Yeah. So
they tried it. The sinensis, Camellia sinensis,
back much earlier.
Yeah, in the beginning of Brazil. When the Portuguese court came to Brazil.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And they tried another cultivars and didn't work. So a guy in 1935, a Japanese guy said, okay, I'll try Sri Lanka seeds, but he was not allowed to bring it to Brazil. So he brought it in the bread, the seeds in the bread. I don't know what part of this could be legendary or something like this.
That's right. We don't need to question it. That's tea. That's just tea. Yeah.
There's an area in Registro, the city, that you have the first tea tree in Registro, and there's
it's like a sign. Yeah.
A sign telling this story.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Brazil used to export a lot up to the 80s, but with the arrival of another exporting forces like Kenya, lots of plantations were abandoned and producing tea wasn't economically sustainable anymore. Yeah. And I believe is as well because most of the tea was exported. People drinking tea in Brazil were just in the small communities, Japanese communities. They were not spreading the culture, educating, selling to new people. So when this happened, so they went down.
Because what was a problem with the currency, dollar and real. So the Brazilian tea was too expensive.
Yeah. So the plantations, like Ursula is saying here, they are in the countryside of São Paulo. That's the correct word. Countryside of São Paulo. Thanks. So, guys, you want to ask any question to Don, or we're gonna say goodbye? So Don has a wife and a kid. She's so cute. Everybody that tells you that, right? Especially when she's drinking tea.
As a parent, you never get tired of hearing it, though. So
Okay.
thank you very much. Yeah, she's helping me with my tea selections this year, so I'm
nice.
grateful. I'm training her up. So she's 2.5, and she's already drinking more tea probably than most adults. So yeah, we have to watch her. She loves it though. She really does. Now I actually have to shoot this weekend's video. So after this, I'm gonna turn on the cameras and shoot a video for this weekend.
Any last questions, guys? No? Yes? Last chance? I'm gonna count to 3. If I don't have any questions, that's it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Don, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna close here and I'll give you goodbye, just us here. Guys, galera, obrigada por todo mundo que esteve aqui. A gente depois vai traduzir a live com calma, tá? Beijo grande para todo mundo que tá aqui. Engasgou? Ok. Beijo, galera.
Beijo.
Beijo. Beijo.